Good afternoon. This is Lindsay. It's Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and I want to talk about how the surveillance, how whenever you are too nice to people, obviously, like whether they're neighbors or whoever, they start to take advantage of you in ways where demanding your time and attention whenever you're like caught off guard. And I'm just talking about because I know that I'm under surveillance and I know that these people, and I'm not saying I dislike these people, I don't really know them very well, but I do know that they're monitoring me, and I do know that they also work with the police or government, whatever. But because every time I'm out there lately, every time I'm outside out in the laundry room doing something or putting some clothes away or trying to do laundry or whatever, he starts asking me questions and trying to like corner me, trying to, starts asking me things, talking to me. And the other day, I was out there a couple days ago. I was out here doing some laundry in this laundry room, and there are a bunch of sticks and brush, whatever, out in the yard that have been there for a long time because obviously, it was winter, or it is winter, and the branches fall from the trees. And, so that's the house next door. But anyway, so there are a bunch of branches back here, a big pile of branches that was right back there towards a fence, and then just other right here as well, like where this pool used to be, this fish pond that my cousin had that was right there. But nonetheless, there are a whole lot of branches, and this is it's a really large backyard. It's really big, pretty big, but and as you can see, there's a lot of openings there, and there's a lot of like animals like rats and raccoons and whatnot that get in through there because there's such a large crawl space. And I can hear it all night. Last night, especially when when the weather is colder, you can hear all kinds of animals, cats, rats, things like that under there, typical of old houses. So that's something that at some point I need to get that repaired, because it's just, I've got a problem with rats coming in still, even though they fixed, these repair people, they did fix the issue with, obviously they fixed the countertop, thank God. It's back to the way it used to look, and I'll show you which it's back to normal. So they fixed that back to normal, but so the problem with the rats is no longer happening. But I do have a problem here. There's a hole behind the refrigerator, because where the refrigerator is hooked up, obviously the water line goes through the wall. And so there's an opening where rats are coming in, because I can hear them late at night or early in the morning running around. And so obviously they're getting in through there somehow. They're, like I said, I'm not going to move the refrigerator right now, but I have to get that fit. I've got to go to Home Depot and get the proper something to cover that up, because that's just not good, and so whatever, I'm just yapping. But nonetheless, back to what this neighbor, and don't get me wrong, the guy, I think he's trying to be helpful, but at the same time, what he'll do, and this is manipulative, what manipulative type people will do, is they will, like I said, I was doing my laundry, and he starts saying something like, "Hey," and sometimes I just can't understand him when he speaks. It's like I have to ask him, "Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that?" Because he talks really quickly, and it's really sometimes not easy to understand what he's saying. I just can't always understand what he's saying. He doesn't speak very clearly, and he was like, the branches, a brush to pick up the brush, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I had to ask him like 3 times, and finally what he was saying is that if he could remove the brush from my yard and put it out. And I said, he's like, didn't you get the notice in February 9th? I was like, okay, no, I probably did, but I don't remember. I probably threw it away, but nonetheless, so he took all, and he's like, I said, well, how much are you going to want for that? Because I pay him to do little chores and whatnot, and I've paid him to cut my grass before, and he does a good job. He does a good job when he cuts my yard, and he's thorough and whatnot. So I'm not saying he does a good job at what he does when he does these little odd jobs for me, but it's just that he's very, he's very like push. It's almost like I said, he always is catching me off guard, and it's uncomfortable because it's almost like it's an excuse for them to like, because I know he's a snitch. I know that he's an informant. Okay, I know that whoever he lives with, they're always watching me, just like the people all over are always watching me. I know this for a fact because I can sense that I'm being surveilled by people and monitored. And it can be very uncomfortable when you're under that kind of scrutiny by people all the time, because I'm not doing anything except living my life, and I don't have to explain myself to anybody. But this is part of this government community watch program thing where they just kind of violate your boundaries, and they don't seem to have the concept of allowing a person boundaries. It's like that's not the way I was raised. I was not raised to just go up and start interrogating people who I don't really know. This is what people do around here. They don't seem to have very much respect for people's privacy or something. It's hard to explain, because I'm not trying to sound like a bitch, but it makes me mad because I'm not gonna be fucking treated like a doormat or some kind of a fucking charity handing out money all the time because I have to pay. So he put the branches out here, which I appreciated. Okay, he put the branches out here, out front of the house, because they're gonna pick that up. The city will pick that up. But then I noticed yesterday, this house across the street where that man was living, his name was Adam Payne, I found out, who had that accident of some kind with whatever happened to him, fire. And I found out what happened was his fucking gun blew up, and he was cleaning his gun, a firearm, and it apparently blew up in the house and caused a big smoke bomb in the house. And so he's lucky, but he got burned really badly, poor guy. I mean, so that's what happened there. But I noticed it yesterday, and I don't know what they're doing with that house. I don't know what they're doing with this house. Obviously it's vacant now, but it's a nice old house. You see, it's another house that has a lot of potential. There's a lot of, this house, if I could buy houses like this and then rent them out or sell them, flip them, I would do that, because there's a lot of money in these kinds of houses. Look, it's a house probably built in the same year mine is. It looks like it was built in the 20s, probably. It's a craftsman style home that I have no idea what it looks like on the inside, but it's a great looking house, paint it, and look at how great that is, So there's a lot of houses like that around here, and they run about close to usually depending on the condition, usually they're about $200,000 and up. Just depends on how much work has gone into them. But these houses are very sturdy, the old houses, because obviously the foundation is really sturdy, and they were built back then when people really took more time and effort into building things. It was just different, as opposed to now everything's so cookie cutter, looks the same. These houses have more character. Obviously, they're older, more character, more history, and a lot of them are haunted. I should know that because I live in a house that's got a spirit in it as well. This house did have, maybe I got rid of it by now, but it definitely did have a spirit, because the man, that's not funny, I'm not trying to, but the man had committed suicide in this room right here that I'm pointing to. A man by the name of, either it was Anthony who was his name, or it was David. One of the guys, maybe it was Anthony. I don't remember which one, but one of them committed suicide in there, shot himself in the head and died instantly. And so there's a blood stain on the floor in there. Disgusting. Yeah, so, okay. But anyway, so he did that. Back to this whole neighborly thing. And it's just people trying to be neighborly. I'm not opposed to that. I think that's great that people helping each other out and neighbors being neighbors. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not my point. My point is that sometimes it's very intrusive the way they do it. It can feel uncomfortable because with him, he said something like, and then yesterday he said something, he was asking for the money. So I said, well, I don't have $10 right now. I'll pay you, I'll give you the money. And then so yesterday he came up and said, do you have any money, or do you have the money for I was out on the porch once again doing taking some laundry out of the machine, and he said something. I said, what'd you say? He said, do you have the money? And I said, or I couldn't understand him. So I gave him $5 for the work for that, but because that's all I had. And I had given him some cans of ginger ale that I had that I didn't want because they delivered the wrong kind. And so I gave him some cans of ginger ale, and I paid him $5, which I know that's not much, but damn it, I didn't have $10 on me, and I didn't even ask him to do this. I didn't ask him to do that. And like I said, they catch me when I'm unprepared. And then when I was out there giving him the money, he was like, I was handing him the money when I was standing on my porch. He's like, you look tired. And I was like, thanks. I was like, yeah, well, thanks, And it's just kind of rude. It's like he's just kind of, okay, well, thank you. I mean, I'm not fishing for compliments, but who asked you? You look like you just rolled out of the gutter sometimes, sir. I mean, I could turn around and say something like that to him and say, like, you just look like you rolled out of bed, or like or I could say something like that as well, but I don't. I try to keep my mouth shut when people are just fucking rude. It's like they don't think before they speak. And I know that I make videos and I fucking talk about the stuff that happens to me as a targeted individual who's under all this scrutiny. But whenever this shit happens to me over and over and over again, just like the fucking people would do to me at the gym, oh, you look tired. It's like, who the fuck are you to critique me all the time? I don't care. So what? Life is not easy for me. Life is stressful. I have to bust my ass just to fucking do what I want to do, and it's not anybody's fucking business. It's like all these people in this area and in this, it's all about like survival. Everybody's always in a fucking survival mode here, okay? It's like a goddamn war. Ever since I've lived in San Antonio, it's been nothing but a fucking battle, a fucking war. And life shouldn't have to be like that, but that's the way people are around here. It's like the attitude is such that everybody's in competition. Everybody wants to get a one-up on you. People are not friendly unless they get something from you, or usually if they're nice, it's because they want something from you. Okay, they just have this suspicious attitude, and especially about me because I'm a Caucasian single female without kids, and I live alone. So, oh wow. I mean, good God, but that's the way society is. There's a lot of blatant discrimination against women, against single women, against women without children, such as myself, and against people, who speak the truth, who see things for how they really are. And I get this all the fucking time. That's why I don't socialize. I don't go out much. I prefer to just stay to myself and document this stuff and make my videos. And if someone has a problem with that, it's not my problem. It's their problem. It's their problem. It's their lack of education or lack of knowledge about whatever. I'm just saying, I don't need to be monitored by the whole city or street because it's just stupid. But this is ridiculous. If it wasn't, what I went through was bad enough with that fucking handler dude showing up all the time, interfering with everything, acting like he owns me, like I'm his property, and that like he owns this house, because clearly he was after this house and money. That's pretty fucking obvious. Probably, the more I think about it, he probably worked for some kind of they probably took out some kind of life insurance policy on me, and they probably forged documents. Why else would he have tried to poison me? When I think about all this shit, that man was clearly a fucking evil after money and trying to, because he would make comments like, if you were, I'm just checking up on you, because I care about, yeah, really, no, checking up on me to try to plan to fucking kill me so they could, so nobody would know and he could collect money. That's what that asshole was up to. I could see through his bullshit from a fucking mile away. That Valdez creep, by the way, that whatever the fuck his name is. I don't even remember his last. I think, yeah. Anyway, I thank God I got out of that horrific situation that he was being paid to harass me like that and stalk. But eventually, people who do that kind of stuff, when they're acting like they care, no, they don't. There's always an ulterior motive with people. Whenever, this is the way people are. You can't trust anybody. And you have to, I'm just saying, I've learned. I don't like people in my house who I don't know. I don't like giving my phone number out anymore. I have to be extremely prudent about everything I do now just because of what I have experienced with people taking advantage. It happens a lot. It happens to me a lot, and I've learned that I don't need anybody to tell me how to live. Who the fuck are they to tell me how to live my life? Excuse me? You don't have any right to be telling me how to live my life or how to do anything. That's just my mentality about the way people are. So I just don't pay attention. I ignore them, but I document it and talk about it. Because if I don't keep these things documented for my own personal records, or if not put it on my YouTube channel, people are never gonna, I have to do this for my own safety, okay? I have to do this for my money that was stolen from me, my inheritance, by the way. This is another reason why I do that, because I'm a targeted individual, and I don't like to use that word, but it's the truth. I don't like to use the word targeted individual. I don't consider myself to be a victim. I consider myself to be a truth teller and somebody who exposes corruption. There's a difference. I'm not victimizing myself. I'm stating facts about what these people do when they are surveilling you and harassing you and trying to exploit people illegally. And the tactics that they use, the various little gaslighting tactics that people use to try to invade your privacy or invade your life without you asking. I didn't give them permission to do that. If I asked, that's one thing. But if I'm not giving people permission to just do that kind of stuff, then I prefer to be left alone.